Michigan completes the sweep against Michigan State with a 90-80 win at home in a game where there's a lot going on. Yaxel Lendeborg absolutely earned the Player of the Year for the Big Ten. Extracurricular activities as well, and much more to talk about in this one. But before I get into Yaxel, before I get to the much more topics, I obviously want to address the extracurricular activities. This is something that I think both sides of Michigan State fan and Michigan fans are going to argue both ways. You can mention Jeremy Fears' incident, the kick to Elliot Cadeau's mid-region. You can say that, hey, maybe he got pushed a little bit, but the one thing I want to say is what he did was not right. Even if you get pushed a little bit, even if you get fouled a little bit, you cannot do that. That absolutely deserved a technical. That absolutely deserved a flagrant one. Jeremy needs to cut that out. And he talked a little bit after the game, basically said, like, hey, you know what? I should have just fallen to the ground. That is not acceptable. This is multiple times where this has happened. Jeremy Fears needs to cut this out. If there's any close situation where Jeremy Fears can possibly get to that, he just can't anymore. That's just kind of what the situation Jeremy Fears has put himself in. He can't get anywhere close, or he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. That's just not the way things go. And that absolutely could have been a moment where Michigan State lost the game. And to Michigan State's credit, they responded. Jeremy Fears responded after that, but that wasn't the end of the extracurriculars that happened in this game. You also have to talk about Ade Mara. Got 2 technicals in this game. The first one was a shove on Carson Cooper. The second one was basically him kind of grabbing or basically trying to stop Jeremy Fears from going on a fast break. Both teams, both players had situations that were not basketball plays that should have not been in this game. Now, luckily, it was really kind of early on when this happened and things kind of settled down from there. At least the extracurricular stuff settled down. So kind of after like the first 5-6 minutes, things kind of got back to play a little bit. I think that's where a majority of this conversation in this podcast needs to be the play, because I truly think both teams played very, very well. And it starts out for Michigan with Yaxel Lendeborg. I thought he was great. This was a game that absolutely clinched the Big Ten Player of the Year for him. There was a lot of conversations going into this one. It was going to be between Jeremy Fears and Yaxel. And to Jeremy Fears' credit, he played really good as well. But this was just a star performance from Yaxel. This was Yaxel basically showing that, yeah, he is the best player on this Michigan team. And there's going to be moments, there's going to be games where maybe he doesn't contribute as much on the scoring side of things, but he's going to have an impact with his defense, with his rebounding, with just his overall physicality and athleticism. And he absolutely showed that in this one. 27 points, 8 for 12 from the field, 5 for 6 from 3. He shot the ball extremely well tonight. Some of those looks were pretty open, which I don't understand what Michigan State was doing on those, but Yaxel was by far the best player on that court for the Michigan side. Morris Johnson, I thought was really good as well. 18 points, 6 for 13 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, big 3 at that point. I thought he was really, really good. And overall, this Michigan team shot the ball extremely effectively. If this is going to be the way Michigan's going to shoot every game of the year, I don't know if there's a team that can beat them, to be completely honest with you. Maybe Duke, maybe Florida, but this is a team that shot 49% from the field, 45% from 3, shot 89% from the free throw line, 29 free throws in this game. That was the biggest difference, the free throws and the rebounding. Michigan out-rebounded Michigan State in this one. That is not something that typically happens a whole ton, but Michigan out-rebounded them by, I think, 3 or 4 in this one. Michigan was able to get on the glass. Now, Michigan State did have 10 more shot attempts than what Michigan had, so obviously that plays a little bit of a factor into this, but outside of offensive rebounding, Michigan out-rebounded Michigan State in this one. So you have to give full-on credit to Michigan in this one. Michigan was in foul trouble, especially in the front court for a majority of that first half. Outside of those guys, like Trey McKinney hit some big shots. He was a few plays here and there I thought was really good in the second half. I thought he had some huge plays, some huge bucket, 12 points. Roddy Gale had 15 points for Michigan, 4 for 5 from the field. Michigan just shot really, really well overall. And I think a lot of those were a little bit more of open shots, but also Michigan hit some really contested shots as well. This is a really, really talented Michigan team, and you saw in this one, they were able to put up 90 points. They were just hitting everything in this game. But you also have to give credit to Michigan State in this one, because I thought Michigan State, for the most part, played really well. And that's the unfortunate thing, is I thought both sides played really well, and you can just see that Michigan overall is a better team. Right? Michigan's the more talented team, and you saw what happens when both teams play really well. Michigan did shoot a little bit better from three. That was a huge part of it. Obviously, free throws was a huge part of it as well, but I thought the front court for Michigan State was absolutely spectacular in this one. Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler on the offensive end, 23 points, 19 points. They did everything that you really asked them to do. This is one of the best front courts in the country with Michigan, and they absolutely took it to them. They went at it, and they were able to go one-on-one with one of those best front courts. And I'm really, really impressed. And I think this really lines up well for Michigan State going into March. And I think both of these teams line up really well going into March, because you can see that when they play their best, they can beat a lot of teams. And I think Michigan State's in that territory. I think if Michigan State plays like this, there's very few teams in the country that can beat them. And I think Michigan's one of them. And unfortunately, this was just a game where Michigan State kind of ran out of steam a little bit. This was also a game where you kind of truly saw the backup point guard being a huge minus for Michigan State. Denham Wojcik in this one played 4 minutes. And some of those minutes were pretty good. Some of those minutes were not very good. There was one point in this game where Denham had a layup, or had a alley-oop to Cohen Carr, and he missed them. And that's a big moment in this game, because Michigan State, I think it would cut it down to 2, maybe 2 or 4. Michigan State was kind of trying to crawl back. You really need that moment. He also had Jordan Scott on the right side. I know Jordan Scott struggled shooting this game, 1 for 7, 0 from 3 in the game. I think he's definitely a better shooter than that. But you had an open 3, and you ended up taking a chance at Cohen Carr, and you overthrew him, which is something that typically doesn't happen too much in this one. But I thought Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler were really, really good. Jeremy Fears, outside of the extracurricular activity that he had, 22 points, 9 assists. This was no slouch of a game for Jeremy Fears either. I know a lot of people are going to probably be talking about Jeremy Fears, that kick in this game. A lot of that conversation is going to be around that. But Jeremy Fears just continues to be impressive. Jeremy Fears just continues to elevate his game. And while he had 12 free throws in this one, 10 for 12 from the line, I thought Jeremy Fears did a really good job of navigating the offense. And I thought Michigan State overall, especially in the first half, if you talk about shooting from 3, made 5 threes. In the second half, only made 1. That's a big difference in this one as well. Michigan State shot really well from 3. Kurt Tang was getting involved in that first half, 2 for 8 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. I think he needs to shoot a little bit more. Obviously, I talked about Jordan Scott. Cam Ward played 8 minutes in this game. He got in foul trouble. He wasn't able to play a whole ton. Jesse McCulloch played in a minute in this game, which is kind of surprising because he hasn't played in a little while. But this was just a game where both teams just played well. And I think going into March, this obviously has both teams, both fan bases kind of excited to see what they can do. I think this also shows that Michigan State's a little bit closer than they were when they played Michigan the first time. This is an in-road atmosphere at Chrysler. I thought it seemed like it was a pretty good atmosphere overall. The students got into it, got loud at points. I think Michigan State went in there and played well, and just unfortunately fell a little bit short. But we obviously know what Michigan is. We know that Michigan's one of the best, if not the best team in the country. This is a team that is really talented, really tall. This is a team that if they play at their height, which I think they absolutely got close to that today, I think they can even maybe get a little bit better as well. That they're going to be a team that can win. And they've done that throughout the season. That's the reason why they've won so many games. That's the reason why they went 19-1 in Big Ten play, because of this play style, because of these talented players, and because of coaching, right? I thought coaching overall, both coaches did a pretty good job. And I think Izzo talked about it after the press conference, and basically saying, he's like, hey, I'm going to promise to make change. We won't know what that change is going into March. Both teams have the triple bye going into the Big Ten tournament. I think the Big Ten tournament is obviously a little bit more important for Michigan State, at least get a win in that one. We'll see what Michigan does. We'll see if Michigan tries to win the Big Ten and the Big Ten tournament. That's a lot of games in 3 consecutive days. Michigan has a depth, though. Michigan has the talent. Michigan has the players. So wouldn't surprise me. There's a possibility that these teams can see each other once again, but we'll see down the road. We'll see what happens in Big Ten tournament play. We'll see what happens in March. We're getting closer to March Madness. Really excited for that. If this is your first time tuning in, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment as well. Trying to reach a goal before next Sunday. So really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Great game from both sides. Good win for Michigan. Swept Michigan State for the first time since 2014. We're headed into a Big Ten tournament play. Really, really excited about that. We'll see what happens in there. But thanks for tuning in. Good win for Michigan. Good performance from both sides. Really excited to see what's going forward. This is your first time. If this is not your first time, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment as well. Thanks for tuning in and tune in to the next episode.